Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of OnePittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. Today, we are at Veterans Memorial Park on South Street, and we'll be joined shortly by Amanda Bates, who is the Director of Veterans Services. But before we start our conversation with Amanda, let's give you an update on a few things that we've been in. And it's been a month now since we've had a show, and I apologize, we had some personal stuff to take care of. So we've been very busy over the last month. We've wrapped up our initial community conversations in regards to our new trash proposal for trash collection, recycling with the toter system. We're expecting a final vote on June 11th at the City Council meeting. And if the proposal's passed, we'll begin working with Casella through the summer into the early fall with our outreach and education campaign so everyone in Pittsfield will know exactly what to expect. I'm proud to say that I was able to announce a permanent police chief. Last Wednesday, we announced Thomas Dawley as our new Pittsfield police chief. Also on that same day, I had the honor of cutting the ribbon for our 6 new pickleball courts up in the Doyle Softball Complex, just off of Benedict Road. There are now 6 new courts there, 3 of which can be used by the public at any time that want, and 3 others that will really be Berkshire Mountain Pickleball. You can sign up or get more information about that by calling Mandy Brown, our Parks Recreation Coordinator, and her number is 499-9371. You also may be seeing some work in our downtown. Our downtown blooms has started, and their work of cleaning up our downtown and beautifying the downtown will continue through the summer. We held our second Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder Task Force meeting, and we are progressing well with that committee. We are having many conversations as to, do we deal with mental health and substance use separately in their own silos? Do we deal with them together? And we have been able to come up with 5 priorities that we'll be working on. And so obviously mental health and substance use is one, community outreach is one, community life is another, and the last is violence that could be coming from some of these issues. As normal, we have done our monthly radio interviews with Bill Sturgeon on Morning Drive, and Marjo and Slater on Live 95.9, and Cheryl Tripp Cleveland at the Peak 97.1 WBRK. Last week, we also had a welcome Mayor Marchetti into the business community, where we were able to share our vision and share some of our accomplishments that we've been able to have so far. So we want to thank One Berkshire for that opportunity. We had our second First Fridays at 5 on June 7th. Again, Mother Nature cooperated with us. It was pouring at 4 p.m., but by 5 o'clock, we were able to have a successful First Fridays at 5. And I want to thank the organizers with Downtown Pittsfield Inc. and our Cultural Pittsfield office for all the work that they do. I was able to speak at the TDI Boost program, whose partners include the Transformative Development Initiative grant recipients. This is part of a mass development project, and they work in cooperation with PERC and Downtown Pittsfield Inc. This program sets out to assist downtown businesses with funding for physical appearance upgrades and to engage with their signage and their exterior lighting and interior improvements, while also providing some consulting services. Downtown Pittsfield Inc. also launched their Downtown Pittsfield Summer Music Series. Check out the lineup for this weekend at downtownpittsfield.com. We're hitting the summer stretch, and so there are lots of block parties and community events. So we were able to attend the West Side Block Party, attend the Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony, the Memorial Day Cookout at the Senior Center, where I was able to connect with the seniors and hear about the toter program and their concerns about rising taxes. The Western Mass Network to End Homelessness regional gathering that was at Holyoke Community College, and Pittsfield Public Schools Civic Fair at Hancock Shaker Village. That was a great experience to be dealing with all of the 8th graders from the city of Pittsfield, from both Herberg and Reed Middle School. And lastly, doing the Pride flag raising at City Hall and attending the Pride Festival. As we do with every show, we want to acknowledge some of the new businesses or milestones that some of our businesses are having. So first, congratulations to Nino's Deco, an event planning and decorative store opened at 144 South Street. Also opening Frankie's Latin Market and Liquor Store held their grand opening. They are located at 1220 North Street. Bottomless Bricks celebrating their 1-year anniversary of their opening on South Street. Hotel on North celebrating 9 years in the heart of our downtown. and Danielle Munn, the owner of Witch Lap on North Street, was named Community Hero of the Month by iBerkshires. If your business or organization is having a milestone or a grand opening, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to contact my office at mayor's office at cityofpittsfield.org and send us the details, we'll be happy to recognize you on a future One Pittsfield show. City Council agenda. We have a large agenda that we have been working on over the last couple of months for the City Council, so we're ready for the June 11th City Council meeting with several items returning from subcommittee. First, we're hoping that the City Council completes their preliminary review of the fiscal year 25 budget, and we expect them to take the final vote of this meeting and the new budget order, which was amended after their reduction in the school department funding, is $215,955,210. There'll be an appointment for Sergeant Tyrone Price from the Pittsfield Police Department as their representative to the Animal Control Commission. There's a request to change the Wacona Park Restoration Committee to 10 members. In conversation with Chairman Persip, we had a conversation about we needed a member of the Disabilities Commission to be part of that commission, and so we are bringing forth that change, and also we're updating the order to request that the Restoration Committee provide their final report of what they expect Wacona Park to look like by December 31st of this year, so that we can begin planning and hopefully have baseball at Wacona Park in 2026. We had 2 grants, one for $9,800 from the Mass Office of Public Safety and Security, and it's for student and senior awareness regarding fire education, and a grant for $227,025. It's a Community Compact Municipal Fiber Grant to connect the Pittsfield Municipal Airport to fiber. With the end of the fiscal year approaching, we have several items to complete, including departmental transfers and our proposal for water and sewer rates. This proposal is attempted to keep the cost as minimal each year, but able to provide the residents an opportunity to know what to expect in the future. As you know, over time, we have seen increases where there's no increase for a particular year, and then we've seen increases anywhere to 35 to 50%. I think those increases are really steep for homeowners to take on, so we're trying to find a way to have those increases go in a very small incremental way. Now, with all of that being said, I'd like to turn to Amanda Bates, the Director of Veteran Services, and kind of talk about what our Department of Veteran Services do. But before we do that, Amanda, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your service within the United States Air Force?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I enlisted into the Air Force when I was 19 years old. I had graduated high school in 2005. I was kind of in limbo, what you want to do. And I was talking to my dad, and he had told me a story about my grandfather, who I had, unbeknownst to me, was a World War II veteran who was shot down. And that puts a little pep in your step. So I enlisted. I was in maintenance for 2 years. I was a fuel cell technician on C-5 aircrafts. So I fixed all the manifolds, components, anything and everything related to the fuel tanks of the aircraft. And then the last 4 years, I was in personnel. So I flew a very nice desk, and I did a lot of very important paperwork. But it was an incredible time. I would have what was called a relatively easy enlistment. So comparatively to who I work with now, the people aren't as lucky as I was to be able to get in, 2 year time, and get out with few complications. So that's what's really exciting about me giving back here, is to be able to help those in need.
So before we really get into the crust of what your department does, and this is something that your department does, but every year the city of Pittsfield, really through the Veterans Coalition, has taken on the role of ensuring that every deceased veteran has a flag at their graveside. And this year you attempted to bring in the community and give the veterans assistance. As we look at our veterans population, they are getting older and smaller. And so the task of decorating graves in the near future are going to become more and more difficult. So let's talk about the experience of opening up to the community and grabbing volunteers to join the Veterans Coalition.
I will tell you, I was a little intimidated off the rip because I think that our office in general has maybe lacked big community outreach. So we're starting with something very fresh, right? And the community outpour that we received was unbelievable. You know, we had that press release out saying we need some volunteers to help us get flags out to commemorate our veterans. We do this every year, and our phone was absolutely blowing up. So definitely pros and cons with any new program that you put into place. This was, you know, a majority of the people who are volunteers right now are of a much older age demographic. They've been doing this for years and years and years, you know, so to combine those individuals with new individuals who don't know about the process is always going to be a little challenging, but all in all, it was really very successful. You know, we put out about almost 10,000 flags were in markers in a day. And that is absolutely, you know, unheard of. You know, what we did afterwards was kind of had our veterans go out and fine tune and make sure, you know, with the list that we provide of our veterans to make sure that everyone was accounted for. You know, of course, every once in a while there are individuals that get missed. If that happens, just call us. We'll pop right up there. That's no problem at all. But for a first year to bring the community in, to get volunteers involved and to see such a beautiful outpour of people who want to be involved was just so exciting. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We're just starting. So it's exciting to know that next year we could have double that population.
Well, and I remember back in 2020 when I was able to help. It was it's more than just putting flags in a marker or in a holder. For some of those veterans, it's really about I knew this person and celebrating their life. And there's also a process, right? You just can't go slap a holder and a flag someplace. There is a proper way of placing the flag in the left side of the headstone, as if I remember correctly. And so it's important that we bring the community in to help, because I think it's a great civics lesson for many. Absolutely. But also there's a proper way. So it's not just how fast can you put 10,000 flags at the cemetery. And, you know, the year that I did it, I learned a lot. And so thank you to you.
Thank you.
To the Veterans Coalition and to all the volunteers for coming out and, you know, honoring our veterans. You know, I worry, as an aside, this is going to be my last year running the 4th of July parade as the leader. And each year I've watched the Veterans Coalition get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so we'll have a task in the future to figure out how do we continue to ensure that veterans get recognized as the population gets smaller.
And I think that this little project helped alleviate a lot of those concerns for our veterans who have been doing this for a long time. You know, I think that was one of our biggest concerns is, you know, the same 100 veterans have been doing this for the past 100 years, you know, and we need to pass this information on. So you're absolutely right. And for them to see, you know, the younger generations come out is very relieving. That's what brings that camaraderie back together. So
before we really get into what you do, let's talk about where you are. So if there is a veteran out there that might need services and have never been to your office before, where can they find you?
Our office is located at the Senior Center on North Street, at the Council on Aging at 330 North Street, which of course is the old Capitol Theater building. Our previous office, from what I understand, and this before my time, was at the City Hall, right on the second floor. A little less accessible, a little more difficult for parking. At the Senior Center, we're on the first floor. Everything is, of course, handicap accessible. Not that the city wasn't. Plenty of parking in the back. You know, it's just a good spot for us to be centrally. And a majority of our clients are of that area, so we kind of luck out, you know. So we're right there. Our hours are Monday through Friday, usually about 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock. We've got someone there. We are just two. We are in and out pretty often. We are helping veterans all over Pittsfield. We also service Windsor, Hinsdale, Peru, Richmond, and Washington. So we have a big population to hold on to, but that's our main hub. That's where you can almost always find us.
So if I'm a veteran and I'm looking to find you, what services does your department provide to veterans?
Predominantly what we focus is on Chapter 115, and that is Massachusetts general law. So Chapter 115 essentially is a interim low-income program for veterans and eligible surviving spouses or dependents who are in need. So when I talk about low income, I'm talking about below that 200% of the federal poverty level, right? But so it's a small percentage because of what our low income rate is, but there are so many other benefits that are involved in that: emergency housing assistance, home repair assistance, medical reimbursements, prescription reimbursement. I mean, that's just the start. That is the majority of what we do. The little pieces around here and there, the outreach, the general information, VA disability claims, those are all kind of bonus things for us. So our main focus is Chapter 115. And then, the best thing that I can say is what we are is essentially a liaison between veterans, their families, and the federal government, right? Because we all know how easy they make it to understand things sometimes. So we're just there to help you. If you have questions about VA benefits, if you don't know where you can get your VA discount, at certain places, Home Depot is a big one. If you don't know how to get a marker, if you are concerned about burial benefits, anything and everything related to veterans and their benefits is what we do, is what we know. And if we don't give you the answers or we're not able to provide those services, we're going to point you to the place that can. That's what we're about, is networking, with other organizations.
And so you mentioned Pittsfield. As Pittsfield, you have another number of our neighboring towns. How many other veteran service offices are there in the county, and what's your work that you do with them to collaborate to, we talk about Pittsfield and we are Pittsfield, but in a lot of cases, we're a Berkshire County.
We're Berkshire County.
And
yep.
So how do you work together with other VSOs to make things happen?
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I am a new VSO here in Pittsfield. Our North County VSO, Mitchell Keel, is brand new. Our South County VSO, Tom Beasley, is brand new. So you have 3 brand new people in a county, and all of us almost immediately banded together and we're okay. Who knows how to do this? Who knows how to do that? How can we bounce? Because we have, between the 3 of us, we probably have, 60 years worth of military experience, but this is something that is changing all the time. And so the only way that we can help all of our veterans is to help one another. So we communicate with each other very often. Mitchell in North County is just what it sounds, North County. So Williamstown, North Adams are the big ones, but then Lanesboro, New Asher, all the surrounding towns. Tom is Great Barrington, all those surrounding towns. As VSOs, there are certain things that we're legally allowed to do. If you are not nationally accredited, which we just got accredited, which is great, so we're starting that process, but you don't touch VA claims. So while we're working through that transition, we have nationally accredited VSOs in our area, and we work with them daily. Stephen Schultz is the commander at the Bilingual Outreach Center, and he works with a guy, Mike Case. They both, we bounce things off each other all the time. So if I am not available, Steve is available at the Bilingual Outreach Center. If he's not available, Mitch is available. No matter what, one of these VSOs is either going to get you where you need to go, or we're going to help you while we wait, while we get you to where you need to be. So,
and I think that's important conversation to have, that
yes,
it's not just one person in an office someplace.
Yeah,
there are many resources our veterans can get to.
Yep.
So recently, City Council passed an ordinance to allow veterans free parking that I think is somewhat, as easy as it sounds, has become more and more complicated. And I probably added to the complication by saying, hey, it should be fairly simple to have someone fill out an application, go to the Veterans Service Office, they can validate the claim, and then we can get them into our license plate scanning system. Right. But give us some of the highlights. I think it's a good idea.
It's a brilliant idea.
Maybe June 1st should not have been the date to go live.
Probably
but I think it's a good idea. So give us a overview of how you see the program working.
I see this as a very easy program to implement once we've worked out the kinks that need to be worked out. And there are kinks that need to be worked out because anything related to veteran status of any sort is very sensitive. You're dealing with a lot of very sensitive for official use only documentation, right? So it's not as quick as, oh, hey, I'm a veteran and I served at this time. Okay, well, here's your license plate. We have to verify all that information, you know. The Stolen Valor Act is a very serious thing. So we protect our veterans. We want to make sure that everyone who's coming in the door is getting the services they deserve, but we want to make sure that they're eligible for those things first. I just this past week was in the Cape for a conference for the Massachusetts Veteran Services Officers Association. We have our big team meeting. And I had the pleasure of speaking with a gentleman named Kim, who is the VSO in Salem. And I was talking to him about this parking extravaganza that we have. And he's excited for us. But he did stress that, you know, while we love to have this opportunity for our vets, we still got to follow laws, right? Veterans are like any other citizens. We have to follow laws. We pay our taxes, you know, depending on those clauses and what you're eligible for. Right. We don't break the laws. We do what everybody else does. So there's just some legal things that we want to make sure we're following. You know, veterans are veterans and we support them. We're also a very prideful group, you know, so we don't need too many hands out. We want to make sure, okay, we get this, but, you know, let's make sure we're doing it right, you know, and we certainly don't want to take away from other people's priorities, right. You know.
Well, and you know, there's it's a good deed, but there's the devil's in the details. I was out and about in the last week, and I've been approached twice, and once was from someone who said, hey, when did this parking regulation start? And they said June 1st. And so you went, oh, great, I won't get a ticket. I think you got a ticket. Mm-hmm. And we were kind of working through that issue. And then I was out in the community, and I ran into a veteran who is very active but doesn't live in Pittsfield, but spends a lot of time at one of the Veterans Organization offices, and said, hey, what about me? And I had to be like, well, I think the way it got passed is Pittsfield residents. But it doesn't seem to make sense to me if they're working in an office on First Street and they're parking in our lot. What's the difference between a veteran that lives in Pittsfield and a veteran lives in Dalton?
Right.
So I think we've got some more stuff to kind of iron out there, but we'll get through it.
Yes, absolutely.
So some of the viewers may have heard of recent legislation called the Plus Act.
The Plus Act.
What does this act propose?
The Plus Act, the long and short of the Plus Act is there's two big components here. One is that I had mentioned earlier that you have to be nationally accredited to process VA claims. What that means is that the VA, the federal government, is only giving a select few individuals with those accreditation permission to access their files, right? And so that's a law. You have to have that. This law will say that, okay, you don't need to have that accreditation. You can be in a private law firm. You can have your own LLC to process these claims. The second part of that is that those individuals would also be able to collect fees from our veterans. So when I process a veteran, you know, a VA disability claim, we'll say this guy, you know, was a Vietnam vet. He didn't know he was eligible for benefits. We were just able to get him back pay $250,000. That's going in his pocket. That is going in his pocket. Every single penny of that is going in his pocket because that's his service-connected disability. These private law firms are going to say, well, you know what? I'm actually going to take 20% of that for the rest of your life. And anytime you get an increase too, we're going to get a little more of that. That scares us. That's a problem for us. That's something, you know, so for private firms, lawyers, sectors, you know, those individuals who want a piece of that pie, sure, I think it's wonderful. It's for our veterans, for the community, then we were working so hard to get back into their pockets. It's cutting us off at our knees. So it's something that we're trying to be mindful of. It's also something we're trying to get ahead of and letting our veterans know that when you go to see a nationally accredited VSO, and you can look it up, and there's a website that says these are all the nationally accredited VSOs, and if you don't see their name on them there, you should not work with them. Go to them first, because we're not ever we're here for you. You know, we're here for the veterans. We're not here for the paycheck. We're not here, you know, we're here to give back what you deserve. So that should be coming down. I would imagine we'll know something by the end of this year. But Perfect. Just to be mindful of.
So we're almost out of time. We're winding down. I just we've talked about the benefits that you provide to veterans. We talked about decorating the graves, but and I alluded to Memorial Day parade and ceremony. There are many other events that happen. So usually in March, there is the Vietnam Memorial Day. April. Okay.
Yep.
I thought it was the last weekend of March, but this year I think it was the beginning of April.
Yeah, so you're right. You're probably right.
Kind of that time frame. Then we have Memorial Day.
Yes.
Then in August we have Korean War Memorial.
Correct.
September 11th, obviously,
is our 9/11
Memorial. Then we have Veterans Day,
which is our big one.
Which is a big one, and then we have Pearl Harbor Day.
Correct.
Did I miss any?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was trying to do this off the cuff of my head.
That was pretty good.
It's not there, but one of the things that had troubled me when I was council president and a counselor is that for those of us that have never served in the military, we don't really understand what these days are, and so it's important to advertise these days as much as they are. And you know, your predecessor, Jim Clark, I said, hey, Jim, can you send an email to the city council reminding them and inviting them to the event so that we know? So the more that we can push that out there,
absolutely,
the more people that can attend, I think. And you know, even this year, Memorial Day was iffy, but we had a good crowd of people lining North Street. So
a great one, yeah.
I want to thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And I know the veterans appreciate everything that you provide. For all you at home, thanks for tuning in for another edition of One Pittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. We hope that June 11th goes well for us, and we'll see you for June 24th. Have a nice week.